Previously on Manhattan 9-9. Circa March 2020, the coronavirus forced families to stay in close quarters, social distancing from non-household members, and quite frankly, most people began losing their sanity by 10 a.m. every day. On today's episode, a terrible crime has been committed in the Muir household. Our favorite investigators have been asked to help. Over the course of several days, Mrs. Muir noticed a spoon appearing on the kitchen counter overnight. She always leaves the kitchen clean at night, but several mornings she found a spoon licked of peanut butter on the counter. On Friday, July 24th, 2020, at approximately 1:04 a.m., Mrs. Muir came downstairs to see for herself, and she says she saw someone sneaking a spoonful of peanut butter and leaving their dirty spoon on the counter. Thanks to the forensics team back at the precinct, we have access to DNA samples amplified for two different VNTR loci on separate gels. The first gel is the upper half of this sheet, and the second gel is the lower half. The samples came from the spoon on the counter, the evidence, Mrs. Muir, the witness, and four suspects, Mr. Muir and the couple's three daughters, Erin, Morgan, and Lauren. So, if Erin, Morgan, and Lauren are all the offspring of Mr. and Mrs. Muir, that means that the alleles that Erin, Morgan, and Lauren have at both loci should match one of their parents' alleles at that same locus. We can see at locus 1 that Erin's allele here matches Mr. Muir's allele here, and Erin's other allele here matches Mrs. Muir's allele here. Morgan, on the other hand, did inherit an allele from Mr. Muir, but she inherited the other allele that Mr. Muir has. And, like Erin, she inherited this allele from her mother, Mrs. Muir. And lastly, Lauren's allele here is consistent with an allele her father has at this locus, and her other allele down here is consistent with her mother's allele here. Now, let's confirm that Morgan, Erin, and Lauren all share two biological parents of Mr. and Mrs. Muir by looking at the second locus. At this locus, Morgan has the same two alleles that Erin has. Erin and Morgan's allele here matches Mr. Muir's allele here, and Erin and Morgan's other alleles here match Mrs. Muir's allele here. Moving on to Lauren, her allele here is consistent with an allele her father has here, and her other allele down here is consistent with the one that her mother has here. Now, let's see if we can determine whose DNA fingerprints are consistent with the evidence sample at both loci. When we look at locus 1, the evidence sample allele here matches with Mr. Muir, Erin, and Lauren, but the other allele at this locus is only found in Mr. Muir and Lauren. This means that along with Mrs. Muir and Morgan, Erin did not contribute the evidence at the crime scene. But since the evidence, Lauren, and Mr. Muir match alleles at this locus, we must look at the second locus, and hopefully one of those two suspects will match with the evidence. If we look at locus 2, this allele here matches with Mr. Muir, Erin, Morgan, and Lauren. We know from the first locus that Erin and Morgan's DNA does not match the evidence sample DNA, so we don't need to be concerned if they match here, even if they match both alleles at this locus. If they don't match at all loci observed, they are no longer suspected of contributing to the DNA evidence. Let's look at the next allele from the evidence DNA. It is consistent with Mr. Muir's DNA fingerprint, but not with Lauren's. This does not mean that Mr. Muir definitely is the culprit, but it does mean that his DNA fingerprint matches for these two loci. Upon talking to her husband, Mrs. Muir got Mr. Muir to confess that he had been sneaking downstairs for a spoonful of peanut butter in the middle of the night and leaving his spoon on the counter. Because they are such good communicators, Mr. and Mrs. Muir discussed a realistic solution that did not involve leaving any dirty dishes on the counter.